Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. The postseason is here. The play-in tournament, aka the Pit. I like that, Keith. It's such a masculine sound. The Pit, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I think we need to find a way to make that happen. The Pit, and what's the other? Oh, Super Tax. We're
Super
trying to
tax. Yep. The pit and the super
both of
tax.
those. Speak of both into existence,
Coming.
but we've got plenty to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Pit. What's going on with that? One more game left on each side. That's coming up on Friday. We're going to talk about some of the latest playoff news and a little bit about Damian Lillard as well and what's going on there in Portland. Could be an off season of change yet again in Portland. So let's dive right into it. And I feel like I need a drop. I need a drop for the. I mean, it's going to be over before I can make one. But for next year, I need to put that on my to-do list.
And it's got to be
dramatic.
It's got to be Andy from Parks and Rec. I think just like I fell into the pit. Yeah, right. Like, it's so good, man. It's so good.
That's right. I'm gonna have to grab that. Maybe I'll do it before tomorrow. No,
someone's gonna see this. They're gonna be like, the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament. Cool, man. These guys are going super deep in the draft prospects. But no, we're talking play-in tournament pit, not the draft prospect pit. That unfortunately that's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. The top guys used to go, but now there's the combine, and guys don't even play in that. So it is what it is. But anyway, I digress.
So since we did our last show, which was an impromptu live show, we had, as I predicted, and I was a staunch believer that this was going to happen, Keith. The Bulls beat the Raptors. I literally picked that because you picked the Raptors.
You've had the inside info that I think you said DeAndre DeRozan was going to become the star of the night for the Eastern Conference pit game, with her just incessant yelling every time the Raptors took a free throw. And I don't care what the Raptors say. They were like, we didn't even hear it. It didn't bother us. Something threw them off because they shot horribly from the free throw line. So I'm going to give her all the credit for that, because it was loud and clear on the game as you were watching.
Yeah, on the broadcast, you could hear it every single. And I mean, for the mics to pick her up, like, she had to be really loud. That was impressive. I mean, it was so noticeable.
Yep.
She may be the sixth man of the night because of that. That was absolutely incredible. So, but the Bulls advance. I am having a hard time, like, because whether it's the Bulls, whether it's the Heat, you're just going to get run over by the Bucks in the first round. But I guess the longer you can extend your season, give your fans more games to cheer for, and really, I guess, for your franchise, even if you play against the Bucks, at a minimum, that's 2 more home games. That's revenue. That's concessions and all that kind of stuff. So it certainly does matter, even if we know the odds of either of these teams doing anything against the Bucks are very, very slim.
Yeah, I think Miami maybe get the game off them.
Mm-hmm.
Just that's probably giving just kind of falling into it's the Heat. They may pull one off, but yeah, the others, like, just not going to happen, right? It's just not going to be if it's the Bulls. The Bucks will just roll right through them, and we've already seen that story before when these two teams have played. Maybe if Milwaukee's up like 3-0, they kind of take the foot off the gas in Game 4, and Chicago wins that one, and then we're extended into a Game 5. But yeah, I mean, Milwaukee's not going to be challenged by either one of these teams.
No, they're definitely not. I mean, you mentioned it though, 50% from the free throw line. The Raptors, my goodness, something to them. So now the Raptors go home. We will do like a full breakdown of all the teams and everything in the off season, but just very quick gut reaction. How I'm assuming this Raptors team is going to look very different next season, given this team tends to be the team that almost pulls the trigger on moves at the trade deadline and then pulls the trigger a few months later during the summer. I'm thinking that's going to happen again here with this team.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to give this group one more kind of, all right, we're going to reinforce you and go get Jakob Poeltl. And I know they did that with the idea of we can keep him then with his bird rights and all that. But I think the real plan here for the Raptors was, hey, we're going to push and we'll get into the top 6. And that clearly didn't happen. I think they need more roster balance. They don't have enough shooting. They have too many guys, too much overlap at positions. I think we'll see. Fred VanVleet, I guess, came out either last night or today and said, like, hey, I haven't made a decision on my player option. Next year, he's got a $22.8 million player option.
Mhm.
I tend to think he'll decline that, just if for no other reason. Then I think probably the idea is, hey, let me add more years onto my contract, even if he doesn't get quite that much in a single year. It'll be, I want to add, because Fred VanVleet is now, let's see, let me make sure. Yeah, he's 29. So, he's not young anymore. He's not a young and up and coming guy. Gary Trent Jr., we know he's going to opt out. As an aside, do you know how old Gary Trent Jr. is?
He's young, isn't he? He's like 23 or something like
He's
that.
24. It just
Okay,
feels like he's been around longer
it
than that.
does.
But yeah, he's only 24. So my guess is he's probably going to be gone. I just don't know how Toronto keeps him. Then we'll see. Do they trade one of Siakam or Anunoby? I don't think Scotty Barnes is going to be on the table. But, do you bring back Pirtle? Is Nick Nurse going to be back? Those are all the things we're wondering. I know there was reporting, I think, from Woj last night who said there's a path to Nick Nurse coming back to Toronto. But I tend to think, I don't know, when we're hearing a lot of stuff that's been said very publicly, I tend to think that was, let's set the stage where we're probably done with this and moving on. So, yeah, just a weird situation all around for these guys.
If Nick Nurse's time is up with the Raptors, I would have to imagine he will not be out of a job for very long.
No, I think he'll probably be the Rockets coach is my guess. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then that says to me, forget the whole we're still rebuilding. Then it says to me, we're going after veteran guys and we're going to move
James
this forward.
Harden?
It could be James Harden. Yep. And that could be one where, I mean, let's face it, we've seen it before. Maybe something is already worked out there. And we find out later, like, yeah, this whole plan came together and we'll see. I don't know that to be
What?
true. And I'm not
That
reporting that.
no,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen in the NBA.
No, never.
Come
Never.
on.
How funny was that report? We can just do it here now because it wasn't a topic of like they're going to let teams negotiate with their own free agents as soon as this season, or as soon as what is it, game one of the finals or whatever. Okay, cool.
So
you get a month jump on it. Like it's not already happening.
But yeah, I was gonna say that's just it. What team was not doing that anyway? Right?
Just for the love of God, let pending free agents negotiate with whoever they want as soon as their season is over. Not sign anything, not even necessarily come to full terms, but just let them talk to people. Just because it's so dumb that we're just going to play these games of, now it's 6:00, so it's 6:01 Eastern. Oh my gosh, here's all these deals that came together. Now, hopefully teams will be smarter than to hey, here's a complicated 3-team deal that involves 2 sign-in trades.
Yes.
And then they lose second-round picks and all this other nonsense. But yeah, I don't know. That's a soapbox that I shouldn't climb up on today.
Well, we've got plenty of time, of course, to discuss that when we get into the offseason, the absurdness of tampering and how all of that works and everything. We've got plenty of time to discuss that. But we actually had a really, really good game between the Thunder and the Pelicans. It was just back and forth.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. Pelicans fans probably won't say that it was a lot of fun, but it just in general, it was a good, very, very highly competitive game where you really didn't know who was going to win it down the stretch. Ultimately, the Thunder get the win, 123-118. I said going into the game that there was going to be a question of how much damage Jonas Valanciunas was going to do on the offensive glass, and in the early going, it looked like the Thunder really don't have anybody that can do anything against him, and he was going to be a big problem. And then the Pelicans kind of went away from him a little bit, and next thing you know, the Thunder were able to get the win. So now it's going to be Thunder against Minnesota. But before we talk about OKC and Minnesota, what are your thoughts on the Pelicans? What do they do from here? A lot of Pelicans fans are extremely unhappy, given that they were the 1 seed at one point this season, and now don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, right? Like just a complete injury wrecked season. Zion barely played. Ingram missed a ton of time. It's come out now, not only with CJ McCollum dealing with a thumb injury on his shooting hand, but also a shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a torn labrum? Was that what the report was? It was something like that. So not, just that, none of that is good, obviously, right? So you just don't want to hear, those kind of things. Torn labrum in his shoulder. So, I mean, and he looked at times like he was really struggling to do much. So just feels almost like another semi-lost season for this group where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, we're okay, but we're just not where we want to be yet. And most of that hinges on Zion, right? If you can't get Zion playing and playing regularly, it's going to be hard for this team to kind of go, anywhere where they want to go, because it's one of those things where he's so what's the word? Singularly talented and dominant that you get why they paid him the max
Yeah.
contract. But if he can't play, it's basically the same thing that we all laugh at, Ben Simmons and his teams about. It comes down to the same thing. It's just a $35 million salary hole sitting on your books that, is just taking up cap space. That's really all it comes down to if these guys can't play. And no, Zion is better than Ben Simmons. Like, fully get that. But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's played much more than Ben Simmons has. So, I just don't know where we're going with this. I hope this is one of those. Every once in a while, we see one of these guys super injury plagued in his first few years. Then it just kind of all goes away. Like Bradley Beal was that way for a number of years. It was like, this guy's never going to make it through a season. And then he played like 7 in a row where he was mostly healthy. Let's all hope that's what happens with Zion. It's just one of those things. I won't believe it until I actually see it.
Yeah, Zion Williamson, first season, 24 games. Second season, 61 games.
Yep.
Okay, and that was a big step up there. And then third season, 0 games. Fourth season, which is this season, 29 games.
Yeah. Now
that's tough.
Look at those last 90 games. Dominant.
Yeah,
absolutely dominant. Like it's really kind of mind-boggling. Like, he is so good. Just can't
26 to 27. He had an average one of those seasons in 2020, 2021. A remarkable consistency here. Averaging about 27 points, averaging about 7 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting better than 60%.
Yeah.
Better than 60% from the field. That's insane. This season, small sample size, only took 0.7, not even 1 3-point attempt per game, but shot 37% on threes. Gets to the free throw line 8.6 and 8.7 times per game over his last 2 played seasons. Like, insane consistency. He is dominant when he's on the floor. He's just not on the floor. And here's what we need to talk about, because there have been reports that Zion could play. Like, could have played in this game, but that it's a mental thing, that he wasn't trusting his hamstring, and that was why he wasn't playing. And that has drawn a lot of criticism. Some Pelicans fans have been upset about that. Some people have been taken, so the comments made by CJ McCollum after the game is potentially taking a shot at Zion and him not being ready to go. Where do you stand on that? Should that be something that we criticize Zion for? Because I think you could look at this game and see how close it is and say, oh my gosh, even if you got 60% of Zion, the Pelicans are moving on to Friday.
Yeah, it's really hard, because it's when a player's coming back from an injury, it's just hard to say get out there and play if they're not confident in playing. Then he throws down like a windmill dunk in warmups, and it's like, so what are you exactly holding back from? Like,
right.
If you can be doing that, and I get it, that's a very different thing than actually going out and playing a game at full speed and all those things. But yeah, I get it. And it's one of those things where I think Larry Nance came back at, I think it was Skip Bayless, and was like, hey, stop telling lies. Like, nobody in this locker room is upset with Zion and feels any way about him. Like, we're all supportive. But it wouldn't surprise me if there's some level of frustration where some of these guys are a little like, oh, man, like, when are you going to be on the court? Because it's just, again, we went through it. 2 all-star appearances in those 2 healthy years, both very well warranted, because that's how good he was in both of those years. This is a dude who, if let's say next year he plays 65 games, we're going to be having MVP conversation about that.
Yes, for sure.
Because that's how good he is, right? I mean, he's just absolutely ridiculous. And yet we're in a spot where, all right, when, I guess, not what, but when. When are we going to see it? And unfortunately, I'm going to add a tag to that. Are we ever going to see that? Like, that's the harder thing. But yeah, I get it, where there's probably some frustration there. Like, one of my favorite things around this time of year is always, if you could pour truth serum into some guys, what would you hear them say? And I think the truth serum is like, if we could get truth serum into some of the Pelicans, all right, Zion, what's going on with this? So yeah, it's just, man, I just want to see him play. That's all.
I mean, he was my dark horse pick for MVP, with the idea being that the Pelicans were going to be really, really good this year because I liked their wing depth. I thought with Zion on the floor, they could be great, and they were. They were great to start the season. They were terrifying what we saw out of them. Obviously, it didn't go their way for the final stretch. I mean, massively fell apart. But you look at this and you think about, okay, this is the postseason, right? This is literally a win or go home, like do or die situation. And you look at the history of the NBA, and we think about the Jordan flu game. You think about Isaiah Thomas spraining his ankle, right? You think about these plays. You think about, I mean, my God, Willis Reed. You think about all these great moments of guys playing through things and saying, no, this is time for me to play through this. This is time for me to be tough and get through it. And again, hamstrings are no fun. It's not something to mess with. So I'm not trying to call Zion soft or anything like that. But I can understand why people would look at this and be like, this isn't what we're used to seeing. This isn't what, like, you're healthy, but you're a little bit unsure. Yeah. Isaiah Thomas could barely walk, and he creates an all-time performance. Like, where is that mentality? And I think I can understand why people will be frustrated that, he's not out there given the circumstances. While at the same time, recognizing that it's a very difficult injury, and I don't blame him for being a little bit unsteady on it. But man, the frustration is real, and I think there's a lot riding on this next season for both the Pelicans and for Zion and for his standing in the NBA. Can he get out there? Can he stay healthy? And what does he need to do in order to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he needs to come into training camp, and that team needs to come in with the mindset of, hey, you're going to be here when you're feeling a little something. We need you to maybe push through it, as long as it depends on what that little something is, right? If it's anything you're like, oh, that could turn into a big thing, then don't, right? You got to be smart. But like, you got to go in with the mindset of, I'm playing 60 plus games next year, and that's just going to be how it is, right? Like, I'm going to be on that floor, and I'm going to, come and show everybody, like, hey, this is why next year I'm on that max deal, and this is why it's kicking in, and that's where we're going to go. Because otherwise, if you're the Pelicans, if this turns into another 30 game or less season, you got to start having some really difficult conversations around where are we going with this? Because you can't win that way. No matter how special the talent is, you're almost better off. You're gonna trade him at a loss, and you're probably gonna lose your job if he breaks out somewhere else and gets healthy and becomes what we all think is an MVP level guy. You'll probably get fired because you're not gonna get equal value back for him. But there's at least a greater chance of, hey, got some guys back who can actually play and help us move this thing forward and help us go forward. And maybe he doesn't ever get healthy and play. So it's just it's such a tough situation.
It is.
Again, I'll say what I said before. I just want him to get healthy, and I want him to do it right there in New Orleans. Like, let's see. Let's just see because that team could be special. And they were playing so good when they had their guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Thunder and Wolves coming up on Friday. I think this is an interesting matchup. I love the Thunder. This team is so much fun to watch. They play together. They're not the most talented group, but they play together. They scrap. They fight through everything. Big fan of Josh Giddey's game. The Jalen Williamses are a lot of fun. Of course, SGA. All that said, I hope the Wolves win this thing. And again, I love the Thunder, but I think without having a true center to really lean on against Jokic in round one, they're toast. The Wolves, I think, at least have a chance to create an interesting series, especially if Gobert is able to go. I wouldn't predict they would win or anything like that, but just in terms of my own rooting interest, wanting to see a competitive first-round series, I would prefer to see the Wolves take this thing over the Thunder.
It's interesting. I almost kind of lean the other way, where I think the Thunder spread the Nuggets out. They play that 5-out style. They force Jokic to defend in space. They're not going to have any answer for Jokic on the other end of the floor. No one is, though, so I don't know what difference that makes. I get what you're saying. Gobert can at least make him work, right? If he's Gobert and he can be Rudy Gobert, it's at least going to be something there. But I'm going to go with, I think the Thunder are going to win. I think that Wolves team is just done. I just feel like they're just like, let's get to the summertime and let's get out of here. Let's get somewhere nice and warm, and we'll try to make this thing work next season. But we're all just kind of done. I'll say two other things. I think the Thunder, I think they're kind of hey, we're not coming, we're here.
Yeah.
And we're here now, but it's going to be even better when we get Holmgren and we do whatever we do with our cap space. Like we're going to be even better, but we're here now. So I think they're motivated by that. I also will say the one thing that scares me about picking the Thunder is I think Anthony Edwards is going to come out and have a monster game because he was
9 points
so
against the
bad
Lakers. Yeah,
against the Lakers. You're not going to see that again. Like unless it comes out that he's hurt, like that's the only reasonable excuse. So I think you're going to see him come out and just dominate in this next game. And I do worry that this could be one where, oh yeah, good job picking the Thunder, and Cat has 45 points
right.
2 minutes into the fourth quarter because they've had no answer for him all night long. But I'm picking the Thunder. That's where I'm going. I just believe in that group.
I love it. And look, I would be excited because again, in terms of which team do I enjoy watching more, I really enjoy watching the Thunder play basketball. They are a lot of fun. They're a great group. I'll say this, flipping it around, not my own selfish interest, which team do I think could give a better matchup with the Nuggets? I'm going to lean Minnesota, especially if they get the Mike Conley that just doesn't miss 3-point shots.
Sure.
That's obviously a big factor there, but I'm going to lean Minnesota. But if I flip it around, which team benefits more from getting into the first round? It's the Thunder. They get that experience in the first round of the playoffs, assuming they're not going to beat the Nuggets or anything like that, but them getting that experience, and like you said, announcing, hey, we're here, that could be a big catalyst for them heading into what will be a big off season and into what I expect will be, I think they're a solid playoff team next season. I think that's the kind of leap that they're going to make going into next season, pending, what happens this summer, of course. But the experience of being in the playoffs this year means the most to the Thunder as compared to the Wolves, I think.
So your official pick is Timberwolves, though?
I'm going to go Wolves. I'm going to go Wolves. I'm going to say that they get it done. Yep.
On that one, just the second time we've been on. I mean, we were a little up. We picked all the same teams to win, just in different games.
Did we pick on Miami and Chicago?
We did not, so we need to do that one too. I'm going to pick the Heat. I don't think they're going to lay another egg at home, so that's where I'm going with that one.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same. I'm also Miami on that one. So yeah,
I'm cracking all these, by the way, just so we can hold ourselves accountable later, that we can get into all that stuff. So yeah, man, it's just kind of closing the thoughts on the pit all around. Awesome. I love it so much, man. Yeah. It's so good. It's so fun. I think it gives us that exact snippet of March Madness in the NBA of the single game, the stakes, and these guys. I mean, all 4 games we saw, those teams went hard the entire game, really trying to win those games. Even Miami and Minnesota, knowing like, hey, we get a second crack at it, they still wanted to win those first ones, right? So it's just, that's the cool thing. But the best part for me is we get that snippet, and then we go back to what makes the NBA playoffs really special, right? Is you have to win 4 7-game series to win the title. You don't luck into an NBA championship. You may get some luck along the way, right? With you don't have injuries, maybe an opponent does, or there's an upset, and then you don't have to face a team or whatever. But you have to win 16 games over the course of 2 months to win the title. Like you earn this title. Not to say the NCAA champs don't earn it, but it's just there's a lot of luck along the way there that doesn't factor in the NBA, because you might lose a game and it doesn't really matter because you have another 6 to make up for it if you lose that first one.
Yeah, and that's it exactly, right? When I look at the NBA playoffs and I compare it to the other major professional sports leagues, I think the NBA has a much, much, much higher consistency of the best team wins.
Yes.
Compared to you get, like if you get a goalie in a hot streak in hockey, that can, that can win you a series there. And by the way, playoff hockey is phenomenal. That is an incredible product. But
it's the only kind of hockey I will ever watch. I'm just
on TV. Guy. Going to games is amazing.
Oh, going to games is all. I can watch any sporting event live. Like there's like true sporting events. Like someone's gonna get really angry, but I don't think like auto racing is a real sporting event. Like I respect what they do, but it's like I don't know. I don't want to start angering people, with that, especially where I live in the South. But it's I think it's just but any other sporting event, like I'm gonna go and have a blast live. But yeah, hockey live is just fun. And hockey fans are they're a different breed, right? They're crazy people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
I
mean, really, like you look at the NFL, one bad game, you
Oh
come
yeah,
up against a defensive
yep.
scheme or whatever, and you're out in the play because it's one and done. Anytime you have that one and done situation, like in the NCAA in March Madness,
Yep.
a team shoots well from 3-1 game. Okay, you're going home, right? Like that's
Yep.
it can be that thin of a margin. Whereas in the NBA, best of 7, the best team is typically going to win. Like that's just what you see happen.
Yeah,
And
it's very
especially
rare
you're
an NBA series ends and you're like the wrong team won. Like it's
right.
very, very rare.
And even rarer that you see a team, the wrong team made their way all the way to the finals. And
Yeah, that
they
never
might
happened.
win one series. That could happen.
Mhm.
You get a few good bounces at the end of a game or something like that.
Yep.
But to make it all the way through it's not going to happen. You're not going to go all the way through the playoffs, get to the finals when you're not actually playing the best basketball.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely agree.
All right, let's finish up with this. Damian Lillard looking for changes in Portland, calls it the biggest offseason ever. What's going to happen here? What does Portland do? Like what? Damian Lillard wants improvements, and he should. He's hitting a point in his career where the clock, man, it is ticking fast. What does Portland do in order to put a winning team around him, especially given the context of the Western Conference?
So that's the interesting thing. So this was year 11 for Dame. So I'm going to start this by saying I have no problem with Damian Lillard, even though he said I'm not putting the Blazers on the clock. I'm not making any threats. I have no problem with him. I call it this all the time. Exercising the superstars right of, hey, give me some help.
Mm-hmm.
I think Damian Lillard's ideal situation is Portland goes and gets vets. He stays right there and tries to win in Portland.
Yes.
I don't think we are in a spot where Damian Lillard, I don't know. One, we're never going to hear him directly come out and say, I want to trade me, because that's just not how this works. But I don't think we're going to get leaked reports of Damian Lillard has asked the Blazers for a trade. I think what he did was, hey, Portland, it's your choice now.
Yeah.
Right? Like either get vets or stay young. And if you choose to stay young, that probably doesn't include me. I don't think he needs to say trade me, right? It becomes, let's move along. So I think where we're headed with this is now he's put the pressure on the Blazers to decide while also leaving it as, hey, Dame never asked. I also think the Blazers fans at this point, as long as he didn't start trashing Portland as a city and everybody else, and he's certainly not going to do that, they would be like, we get it, right? Man, this dude gave us 11 awesome years and he just wants to win. Like, we get it. Now, if he lands with the Lakers or somebody, they're probably not going to be so happy, right?
No.
Then it's going to be like, I'll say that here's the other thing I want to say, because you said the landscape of the West. I got to believe Dame is looking at it and saying, why not us?
Sure.
Right? There's the teams that most people are kind of picking, it seems like, to make runs here. The Suns, the Warriors, maybe even the Lakers, the Clippers, they're all older. They're injury prone. Who knows how long their lasting power is? I think he's looking at it and saying, like, Denver, Memphis, Sacramento, like, am I scared of playing them? No, I'm ready, man. Like, get me the right guys and I will beat those teams. So I think that's what he's looking at and saying, why not us? Let's go get vets. So I think his ideal thing is, let's go get the right guys here in Portland and let's make a run at this thing and really try to do this. And if they say, we have, this first round pick, I will qualify. If they land Victor Wembanyama, he may start to change his tune on young players, obviously. But I think for the most part, it's, man, I don't want the 5th, 6th, 7th pick, whatever it is, and Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons, and those are my guys I'm going into battle with. I just think he's done. He's been there, done that, and that's not what he wants to do going into year 12.
I just mean the context of the West in terms of there's not a bunch of teams that are like tanking. You know what I mean? You've got the Rockets and the Spurs, and that's it. Everybody else is going, hey, we can make a push. We can go. We can do this. And Utah, obviously. But Utah won a ton of – Utah was the 1 seed for a while,
You could see
But
Utah being good next year, right? There's definitely a
sure,
path where
right.
they had the right guys this summer around what they got, and they're fighting into they're trying to get up out of the pit and get into the pit and then climb out, right?
But this is, I love the way you just casually throw the word pit. We're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be a thing.
That
This
will
is
happen.
his direct quote. Not only will I have a decision to make, but I think the organization will too, because at that point it's like, are you going to go young or are we going to get something done? He said, I think it's the most important offseason since I've been here. Here's what I love though. He's not wrong. Like that's just factual. That's just the truth. And maybe people aren't used to that. Maybe people are used to like the PC response, but he didn't say anything wrong here. He didn't say I want out. He didn't say I'm demanding a trade. He didn't say anything bad about the organization, the city, like you said. He's just said, matter of fact, this is the situation we're in, and the Blazers have a decision to make. Maybe the Blazers decide, you know what, we're best served tearing this thing down, rebuild through the draft or whatever we're going to do, and we're going to build the next generation. And Dame, thank you for all your years here. Where can we help you go? Right? Like that. That may be the path that they choose. I don't think so. I think they're going to take at least one more year, but they have to make a conscious choice. What they can't do is say, well, let's try to rebuild while also contending right now. I think they have to pick a direction and commit fully to that direction and decide what that's going to be. And again, there's pros and cons to both. If you're going to rebuild, it's a painful goodbye to Damian Lillard. If you're not, then it means that you can't be worried about stockpiling young players or anything. It's, can you help Dame win right now? And if the answer is no, then we're moving you somewhere else and we're finding guys that can, and we're trying to find deals and things of that nature. I think he's right in that you have to pick a firm direction. If you are straddling the fence here, you're going to go nowhere.
Completely agree. Yeah, and I think he very skillfully, to what you said, put it on the Blazers, right? Mm-hmm. It's their decision. I'm not asking to be out. I'm not even definitely saying you have to go get vets. This is your decision. Make it, but just pick a direction. And I think that if you read between the lines, that is either get vets and let's try to win with me here, or cool, if you want to rebuild and trade me, I get it. And he's basically said, I'm removing myself from the decision here. At no point are we going to get a report of Damian Lillard has asked for a trade or anything like that. I think it's going to be, if anything, we may get the Blazers have elected to keep their pick and they're going to select blah, blah, blah. And then followed with the Blazers and Damian Lillard are expected to work together to find a trade, this offseason or something like that. So
that's key. The work together piece. That's the other thing is he's meant so much to Portland. He's meant so much to those fans. He's meant so much to the organization, right? That if they do ultimately land in a spot where it's okay, we're going to move on from him. It's not going to be a, let's just get the best deal. I don't care where we send him. I think it's very much going to be a collaborative effort of how can we do right by Damian Lillard while still giving ourselves what we need in order to build this team moving forward. It's not going to be a contentious thing. It's going to be something where they'll work together to make that happen.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they will separate as amicably as you possibly can, if that's where it comes to. But I'm with you. I think it tends to be, hey, let's add a whole bunch of guys and we'll run with this. So that's where I'm at with it.
All right. Well, for a show with only 2 topics on our list, we still put in a full days of work here. But the pit in and of itself offered plenty of different things to discuss there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Make sure you do subscribe right here to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. Please don't keep us the best kept secret. Tell other people about us. Let them know where to find us. And, of course, go subscribe over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. And, again, do both things. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast side.
And if you're listening on Thursday, that means tomorrow, Front Office Friday. You'll be going a little early. We're going to be going at noon Eastern on for Front Office Friday. So if you're on the East Coast, have your lunch with us. If you're on the West Coast, just ease into your day, right? Ease into your Friday with a little bit of fun with us in the morning. But front Office Friday, noon Eastern tomorrow. If you're listening to this, we will be live. We'll be taking your questions, talking the final 2 games in the pit. We'll be talking about the playoff matchups, really whatever it is you guys want to get into with all that. Can't wait.
This is just, I'm laughing because look, let's face it, the people who are still listening right now, you're the real ones. Peek behind the curtain. I blew it. I even said before we started the show that we needed to announce
Joe.
what time our live show was going to be tomorrow on the show. And I got so excited talking about the pit that I completely passed over it.
That's why we're a team, man. That's why, you know,
Oh.
so you carry me more often than not. And every once in a while, I'm like, I got you, buddy. I'll pick you up here. Let's go.
Well,
I'm going to help
I'm
you.
glad you saved us there at the end. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.